Hi there, I am Adam Kirbas and you are listening to my podcast Political Science. We will continue our argumentation about political truth, political justice, as well as now today with political freedom. Of course, we all know that freedom is a big part in our society. It is a big part in human history, especially many wars have been fought for freedom. We all know about the American Revolution, indeed the most popular one, but as well as about the French Revolution. And these revolutions in the West were some sort of, if you want, have determined the future of Western civilization. Of course, we scarcely know anything about the antiquity. Indeed, they had their revolutions as well. So some even say that we would be in a second enlightenment, or that all those great revolutions beginning with the English Revolution, that this would be the start of the second human enlightenment. Whatever it is, but freedom is key in our concept. Especially we some perceive freedom dire to us when someone infringes on our freedom. We sometimes, or mostly in the West, we some sort of perceive other countries as authoritarian dictatorships. Whatever it is, we some sort of have a notion or assume what a society would be where you cannot in a way express yourself freely. This is assumably China, Iran, and of course in recent times some European countries have shifted to the wrong side as well. But it is not only a society, an authoritarian society. We some sort of feel one's freedom to be harnessed or even to hampered with, but as well as with opinion, especially now in the pandemic, in this where you would have to assume where starts oppression of freedom, or when is our freedom restricted? Is it, or can it be restricted for the cause, for the great cause, and so on and so forth? So freedom is in general very essential. It is essential to human being. Many philosophers have wrote about freedom. Freedom is key. However, we talk about political freedom, and this is freedom what I will some sort of argue today we perceive differently in that sense that it differs a little bit significantly from a philosophical interpretation, but it is rather, you would have to say, especially in the West, a very psychological perception. And in our argumentation here in this podcast, we want to make sure or emphasize that we have to know how people think, especially if you are a politician. You want to understand what people mean about freedom, and freedom in the political sphere works a little bit different. Especially we have to consider it from a sociological or sociological perspective. Freedom is understood differently. There are a lot of research done. I mean, we won't ask how these people came to the data and why people answer in that way. However, we have some sort of research. I will leave it open whether it is viable or whether someone can validate this research. However, in the West, there are a lot of people unhappy. There is some sort of every time in sociology, they make some sort of research, ask people, are you happy? Or, well, if you ask someone before a crisis or in a crisis, he or she will most likely say, no, I'm not happy because I fear, and so on and so forth. But in general, one assumes people are in a way unhappy. People are worried about the future. This is what politics in a way always offers, some sort of solutions for your future. Either politicians paint a very dangerous future for you and your family, and they offer a solution. Or if you are in charge, if you are in power, you most certainly will state that you have been all doing fine all along, and all those people who complain, well, they do not know anything at all. Well, it all differs from which political angle you see about it. But however it is, unhappiness is a key component, especially in the political sphere. Unhappiness not only with a political system, of course. I mean, if a political system, like, let's say in my home country, in Austria, which is some sort of fragile, which has a lot of changing commanders in chief, where you not really know what is going on behind the scenes. Well, this is, of course, this leads to frustration. This leads to insecurity about the future, and you do not know what could come next. I mean, this is understandable. So, in a political sense, we would say, of course, a very fragile government, or if in a country where freedom is oppressed, of course, people are unhappy with the political situation. Or let's say if you, I don't know, live in a democratic free society, you might be unhappy that the commander-in-chief is from a different political background or from a different ideological sphere. You don't like that, you hate that, oh my goodness, I don't know, America goes down the dogs, and so on and so forth. So we all know these discussions, they are pretty imminent. However, unhappiness is as well as a key in your social understanding. This is so much so important that unhappiness with your life, with your situation, and so on, can be a major determinant which political party someone elects. This is key, and this is what we have to understand in as a politician, but as well as someone who is interested in politics. Why actually think people that they are unhappy? I mean, of course, there are a lot of explanations, and again, social research it is always a bit tricky, because if you ask someone, "Are you doing well?" most of us would say, "Yeah, well, I'm doing fine, but it could be better." We some sort of always assume that we should do better, and so on and so forth, and we will talk about this a little bit. But we cannot go too much into detail, because this would be then backed up, or this would then really where we have to go in those different social milieus, where we should really analyze the thinking of everyone. I mean, I have another podcast where I do a little bit of this analysis about this research. However, but here in our political sphere, or in our podcast about political science, we will some sort of look about the general perception of unhappiness, especially in the population, and this is key in understanding why some voters vote for some party, and so on and so forth. So we will rather some sort of confine us to a bigger scope, but not so much go into detail, because this is then or this would be in entirely the topic of sociology. Very interesting indeed. I mean, and political parties pay a lot of money to get this information. I mean, why does anyone vote for a specific party and so on? I mean, just for an example, this is what the scandal of Facebook was all about. That they some sort of gave away sensible data, which some helped a research group to understand election behavior or voter behavior. So this is pretty much crucial. This is pretty much key. So do not underestimate this. But in our argumentation, we will say for the term of simplicity, there is some sort of a common perception of unhappiness. I mean, this is in a way as well as understandable, so we do not say something entirely alien, because assumably if someone does well in a society, if you're successful in a society, if you, well, I don't want to say right away money, but assumably if you are doing well, if you are successful in a society and so on and so forth, you should be, let's see, happy. I mean, happy, we would have to, of course, ask what really consists of happiness. Some will immediately say, yeah, money, of course, I need money in order to be happy, then I can buy myself things and so on. Well, then you some sort of would feel some a void, and you would always have to try to fill this void. So like I don't know, like an drug addict who may be elated if he shoots up, if he or she shoots up there, but then if the effect of the drug went down, this person is then sad, depressed, or mad, and so on. So, and this is pretty much the same with money. So money, we would some sort of say the unhappiness is like happiness. This is a state which lasts, and we will not go too much into detail, especially in a philosophical inquiry. I mean, in the ancient or in antiquity, especially in the Greek philosophy, if you pursue the good, then you are always happy. So this is what pretty much comes through in Plato. This pretty much comes through in Aristotle, and so on and so on. So happiness, you pursue a good, but if you're unhappy, then you assumably would pursue some bad things, and so on and so on. So it pretty much too simple. But however, I will talk about happiness. This is a very important topic. I will talk about happiness somewhere else in this other podcast I'm talking about. However, unhappiness, or at least how we feel, or why we feel unhappy, there are actually a lot of reasons for that. Again, if you're not successful, or let's start this discussion differently. We talked about freedom. And in our free society, like in the West, you can some sort of become everything you want, no matter it is real or not. I mean, those dreams like that you become or that you become, you can become a millionaire in the US. These dreams, some sort of are over. We know, of course, this is not the reality anymore, and so on. But in the free society, or in a free Western society where you are not being oppressed, where you some sort of have access to basic human needs like education, and of course the opportunity to improve your social standing, you would assume that everyone is happy, and you would then rightly assume that if you have all those resources, and if the state can support you in a way whatsoever, then you can go to schools, or you can get yourself any degrees you want, and so on and so forth. So you can become the CEO of every company you want, no matter which company it is. And so no matter what you are, you some sort of are free. This is at least what I would say a naive perspective would assume no matter what it is, you can become whatever you want. Well, we all know, of course, this is not true in reality, or at least I assume maybe some will disagree. They should disagree. We live in a free society, and other opinions are very important for us in order to some sort of learn something. Everyone, no matter who is, has a wish or demand to learn something. But however it is, with these a lot of freedoms comes, of course, a lot of demands. Everyone would assume that. I mean, if let's say someone from an oppressed country would come along and state to you, yeah, why are you just an ordinary plumber? Why are you just an ordinary guy? Why didn't you go to college and graduated there? Because you're free, you can do whatever you want, and I am oppressed, and in my country you don't even have a chance to go to school, especially, let's say, if you live in a country where women are oppressed severely, so they cannot go to school, and then some sort of a woman would come along and would sort of accuse a woman from the West. Why are you just a shop assistant? Why are you just a simple secretary? We don't have access to education. Why didn't you accomplish something? Of course. And this would put a lot of demand on this woman. Of course, I mean, we know it is not easy as well. So in the West, despite the fact that women have free access to education, there is a lot of psychological factors playing into why women rather choose some sort of jobs like shop assistant, hairdresser, and so on and so forth. However, we don't want to talk into detail. But however, what we see with a lot of freedom comes as well as some sort of with a lot of demand that you have to accomplish something. This is what you have in the society as well, as a man, as a man, not only as a man but as a child. You always have some sort of the demand that you should do better than your parents, especially when your parents were uneducated, did not attend school, or only the basic knowledge in school, and you, I don't know, went longer to school, you know more about them, and so on and so forth, and you should then accomplish more as them. And this is a demand, some sort of a generational demand, especially in our generation, where you have a lot of information at the tip of your finger. Google, no matter whether Google some sort of spies on you. However, you have access to a lot of information, and yet the people do not seem to take advantage of this. Rather, we are on Facebook and sell this hideous company for free, our personal data, whatever it is. However, there is a demand on society or on you, and we cannot always fulfill this demand. I mean, we have to be honest. Not everyone is smart. I mean, I was called an idiot in my youth. It took a little bit in order to convince some people that I'm not an idiot. Well, others still to this day think that I'm an idiot, whatever it is. But it is always not easy. And easy in that sense, it is not always easy to accomplish in a society something. Either you are lazy, this is true, some are just lazy, but as well as that you in society have to function a certain way. In order to go to school, sit through primary school, secondary school, and then college, this is all not easy. You have to function a certain way. I remember my siblings functioned well in the school system. I was not. I was some sort of no good in a sense, and it took time for me to develop. And some of us may be some sort of the same, or some of us just may have given up altogether together and said, now, well, I will rather go to a job. Well, I would have done the same. I always wanted to become a mechanic, but out of lack of job opportunities, I some sort of attended school, whatever. But if, in a way, we do not always succeed, and as well as in a society which has, in a way, demand on us. I mean, if you only watch movies, if you only watch ads and so on, these are normal. These are scarcely people from the bottom of a society. I mean, don't misunderstand me. I do not say this as a derision, but from the bottom means, yeah, well, the ordinary plumber or the ordinary hairdresser, all these things we watch on TV and so on. These are not about these guys. I would rather say common guys. They are, for example, all those hero stories and so on and so forth. So this is always about people who have accomplished something, who are on high level society, and so on and so forth. So, and we see these a lot of things, and these things have, of course, put us onto a state of demand. Yeah, we have to accomplish something, or it can be as well as in a family. Let's say you are one member of a big family, and some of your family members are very successful, and people then ask a question. Your relative went to college and you are dumb and so on. You just an ordinary guy. How come? And we always want to defend us. This is very important because society has a demand. This is some of you who applied for a job may have been asked a couple of times here, why didn't you go to school, and are you intending on any further education? I don't know why they asked it, or maybe they only want to know whether you are ambitious or not. Whatever it is, some sort of, there is a demand on society, especially with the notion that if you some sort of are willing to never cease learning, and if you are willing to always educate yourself, you can become whatever you want. This is some sort of ideology of our time, no matter whether there is not enough jobs, especially in continental Europe. This is all not very easy, and of course jobs do not always go with merits, but rather with political affiliation. This is the case in continental Europe, or at least in Austria. However, these are all things. Society wants us to function. People in our social environment are successful. Imagine in school, some people in school they became very successful, and if there is some sort of a class meeting, everyone talks about their success, and you did not do so well. You just, I don't know, you some sort of work in the firm of your father, and so on and so forth, or you as a woman just only became a hairdresser, and if someone in front of you talks about how great it is to be the new executive of a law firm, you some sort of feel humiliated, undermined, and so on and so forth. So we know this feeling. We know this, and this of course leads for us to some sort of unhappiness. We are then unhappy with our life, with what we might assume, or it must not be seen only through the sphere of jobs. It could be as well some guy found the great luck. He is married to a beautiful and smart woman, and he has everything we always wanted to. We have been subscribing for all these dating sites, but to no avail. We did not find the right woman, and well, we did not find the great luck, but someone else has some sort of found it, has founded a family, and we did not succeed, and we some sort of are envious, or in a way we are unhappy with our situation, especially if we have to go home into an empty home and there is no one, and so on and so forth. So we know this as well. Or as well as with money, but money in a way, or wealth is something always temporary. Even though everyone assumes once I have money I can do whatever I want, then I can ensure my freedom. This is true. Money in a way, or that can ensure your freedom, especially if you do not consider it from a perspective to that money would buy you just luxury goods. No, money can protect you as well. However, it is then people either in a way always ask ourselves, or do you know those people? I mean, I always some sort of meet some of these guys and women who some sort of talk great lengthy about what they have accomplished, where they have been. I mean, this is really annoying, especially those who some sort of talk about all their travel experiences, where they all have been. They have been a globe trotter. They have been all around the world, and they some sort of tell in great length where they have been. Well, I don't know whether this is true or not. However, and then they some sort of have a accusation on you. Yeah, what did you do? What did you do? Where have you been all these years? Well, I was, I don't know, seeing the world. Where have you been? Well, I was in my garden and was busy with getting my grill to work for my barbecue, and so on and so forth. So everyone knows these types who always want to be in the center of all attention, with some sort of want to diminish you because you have no, or you do not know the world. Well, I don't know whether you can know the world or experience the world if you travel through a lot of countries in a very short amount of time, or if you can, or just walk through a country with a backpack. Well, some say it is true experience. I would say it is hiking. But you know, and then this is some sort of accusation on us. Yeah, what did you do, and so on. And we of course justify our means. Or if you either apply for a job, or if you are at the unemployment center, people mostly ask you, why didn't you go to school? Why didn't you some sort of try to pursue further education, and so on and so forth? Of course, this makes us unhappy, especially when someone demeans us or diminishes us, and so on. And so this is hurtful, and we then try to justify us. And mostly, this is what a lot of people think as well. And for example, we always have most of us have a very positive view on us, so we do not think that we are all slobs. I mean, and if someone really does, then this is sad and probably has some issues, but in general, people do not think themselves as bad or as worse. You do not assume that you are the worst human being on earth, or whatever it is. But you always some sort of blame of others. This is key. This is as well as key in understanding how voters behave, and so on and so on. And in blaming others, we always say, yeah, we would have went to school, but there was one teacher. She was the worst, and she treated me like bad, and she some sort of discouraged me to go further to school, and so on. Or we some sort of say, yeah, I wanted to go to school, but my parents were poor, and I had to take care of them, and so on and so forth. So this is pretty much, and there are a lot of excuses excuses. I mean, once I was asked, why didn't you? This was before I attended further studies, before I decided to attend university. I was I was asked as well, I mean, once, this was before I attended university, why didn't you go pursue further studies, and why didn't you do this? Well, I would some sort of sarcastically always say, well, I don't need university, I do not need further education, I know everything, and so on. So everyone has some stupid answer and so on, which is actually not true. I don't know anything at all. I always try to educate myself further, and I hope that you do this as well, because if you are oblivious in this world, or if you live through the world without knowing anything of your world, then you some sort of are pretty much oblivious. You do not know what life really is about. Whatever it is, but some sort of we try to excuse ourselves, or we some sort of blame others. This is the most common thing. People blame others for their unhappiness. If it weren't for this, or people blame. This is very common among lefties. I would have accomplished a lot, but then we live in a capitalist society, and capitalism does not like me. They hate people like me, whatever. Maybe they do, I don't know, but mostly capitalism should not care about the individual, or does not care about the individual, at least according to the ideology of lefties and so on. However, but we have this notion of those others, those school, and increasingly, of course, as well as foreigners. I mean, so some, especially unemployed people, always are being asked, and if you are unemployed, and I am unemployed, and I have been unemployed for quite a while, then people always ask you, why don't you get a job? I mean, this is what you have been, or what you are being asked quite often. If you're unemployed, why don't you get a job? It is because people mostly assume that you are lazy. So if you're unemployed, people always assume that you are some sort of don't like working, that you are a lazy bum, and so on and so forth. This is not always the case, or shouldn't be so, but there are some times just the opportunities, and so on and so forth. However, but then we always try to excuse this in a way, or some sort of justify us, and then we say, I would get myself a new job, but there are foreigners. This is very common, for example, by far right people, or by some political sphere, especially in the far right, where a lot of men assume that they do not get a job because all those good jobs, they go to foreigners and so on. So this is one justification. Or another justification is, like we said before, you always assume, or you have mostly, even though if your self-perception is fragile, you always some sort of try to compensate your low standing in society. Let's be cautious with those definitions with law and so on. But however, you know what I mean. So that you are some sort of the bottom of the society. You did not attend college. You did not have you don't have a decent job. You work at, I don't know, at a fast food restaurant. Well, you don't need to be a scientist to work there. Whatever it is, and then of course you in a way perceive, I deserve better, or we have some sort of a false self-perception that some of us think, we are all ingenious, or I am an ingenious, I'm a genius, I'm at the head of my time, and I do not deserve to, I don't know, work in a fast food restaurant and so on and so forth. So there are, of course, a lot of people who assume this as some, and these things have, of course, something with racial notion, or a lot of racial notion plays into this as well. You see, for example, a less black man or less migrants will complain about the job they have to do, which they think they are some sort of underneath their qualifications than natives, especially in Austria. The Austrian, I heard a lot of from Austrian men that they cannot do this or some kind of job because as an Austrian you always have to be smarter than migrants and so on, and it does not work well that Austrians some sort of or that a migrant is the boss of an Austrian and so on and so forth, or is being perceived smarter than an Austrian. So these racial notions play a crucial role as well. For example, if some, and this is actually pretty much the assumption of many voters, for example, who vote for far-right groups, that they assume that because they are part of a race, because they are part of the Austrian culture, or that they are Austrians, simply said that they would deserve better, and that they would have to be somewhere above or somewhere in the leading society and so on and so forth. So this plays a very crucial part, especially in Austria. This is one of the reason why some people have to dress up as a policeman and harass people, or some sort of pretend that they would be judges, lawyers, or some sort of, in a way, superior to others, in order to some sort of get this graduation, this demand, or this assumption that Austrians are better than migrants and so on. This is indeed very crucial. I say this as well as because I became a couple of times a victim of these people. They are a lot and pretty much dangerous in that sense. But we see what this all goes. I mean, I hope that it becomes now clear what this all means, that in a society you have to function well, that there is a demand on you. You should some sort of function in a way, but this you cannot always some sort of fulfill this demand. This then leads to unhappiness. You are unhappy with your social situation. You then some sort of see yourself restricted. This is some key assumption, and this is mostly some sort of referred to freedom. This is what many people say, yeah, this notion about freedom, some sort of I am being infringed of my freedom, or I could accomplish more if I only would have more freedom, because we have some sort of, this is very common in the political sphere, that unhappiness is mostly connected with freedom. This is some sort of the justification, yeah, if I could accomplish more, if, let's say, foreigners would not infringe on my freedom, I would accomplish more if, let's say, when there wouldn't be so many migrants who take away my job, and so I cannot some sort of be free to accomplish anything in society, or I cannot some sort of be free to accomplish let's say the great task like attending a college, because the capitalistic system, this is what I really heard, because the capitalistic system would select some people, especially some people whom it assumes that it would, or that they would be a threat to the system, and therefore would hamper their progress in life. This is white or white leftists say this stuff. I heard a couple of these things as well. Well, we don't know. Maybe it is true. Maybe if you are some sort of talk too much about bringing the capitalistic system down, there is someone with a blacklist who writes down your name and makes your life miserable. I always assumed that these are mostly white people who make migrants and foreigners' lives miserable, but maybe it is true. I don't know. But I think you get the notion, so that we some sort of perceive an infringement because we cannot pursue we cannot pursue something the society put on us and stating in order to accomplish something in our lives. This is part of, or considered part of, liberty, that you are free to do everything you want, of course, with the back or with the footnote, yeah, but because you are free, we demand only the best. And this puts a lot of people in pain, in sadness, and this is key in a political sphere, especially when there is always freedom appears. Yeah? If people walk on the streets and say, yeah, we want to be free, we want to free people, or that our freedom is infringed, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of people who feel this unhappiness, who feel in a society that they are being left out and so on, or that they cannot accomplish something because other people infringe on their freedom. It's the government, it's foreigners, and so on and so forth. So this is very key. So in order, let me define then political freedom to be, let's say, to be accurate. I know this, we are not a philosophical terms, or that philosophical terms may for some be unnecessary, but in our case it is important indeed. So political freedom then means that the perceived lack of choice and alternatives in one life, which one leads to a presumption that one would be free or would not be chained to something would prevent someone from accomplishing something, or would prevent you from attaining anything in your life, or attaining life's opportunities. Well, let me repeat this definition, which I am here to offer. You can have your own definition, but political freedom states, or is a psychological assumption, that all the liberties that are being given to you in a society are in a way exhausting, especially when you cannot fulfill them, which leads to unhappiness, and this unhappiness then leads to a resentment, a common resentment, in which you assume and think that your freedom to accomplish something, but your freedom to be happy is infringed. Why happiness? Because we always assume that if you accomplish anything, or if you are very successful, that you would be happy, and we assume, or this is the next bad connection between freedom and happiness, and everyone assumes that if you live in a free society, that you would be happy, because you have everything, you can do everything. No one speaks really of the demand of this freedom. I mean, what this freedom demands of you. I mean, if you're wealthy, or everyone says that you are good off, then everyone will assume that you have accomplished a lot in your life, and so on and so forth. So this was Adam Kebas from Urdu in turkey on this December date. We are still in the pandemic. I hope that you take care of yourselves and the people around you.